This is a Mountain News special report. Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. We're on the air to bring you coverage of Governor Beshear's remarks at his third stop of the day in flood-ravaged communities. He started his day in Perry County, then went to Knott County, and he's ending the day in Whitesburg. Let's go there now live.
Counties have endured. Today I've been in Perry, Knott, and now Letcher County. Just devastation. Sadly, I just received an update. Our confirmed count of Kentuckians we've lost has now reached 28. And we expect that there will be more and that number will grow. But certainly what we have seen are people helping people. We just passed a house where there's a lady inside helping out whose house is totaled just down the block. It's just she already got all of her stuff out. Kentuckians are very special people that come together and help one another. And I know our state government, state representative, our president of the Senate, our transportation cabinet secretary, we're all here today to say we're going to be here for the long haul. Every day, every week, every month, and every year it takes to rebuild. We are committed to the people of Eastern Kentucky. Already, we do have cause for a little bit of hope. Number one, it looks like the weather forecast isn't going to turn out as bad. We actually have a little bit of sunshine when it was supposed to be raining. Now, we do have heat coming up later in the week, and we got to get people prepared and stabilized for that. We got a lot of people that don't have the type of housing they need right now. We have over 100 travel trailers that we will be bringing to this area in the coming days, identifying places to set them up. That'll get people in them the fastest that we have ever seen in response to a disaster. We also were very blessed last night to receive individual assistance from the president. He'd already done a disaster declaration. What this means is the people of this and 4 other counties, and more will be added, will be able to get individual assistance and dollars to help rebuild their lives. But listen, this is going to be really hard on each and every one of these families. This neighborhood we're in right now doesn't flood, but look at what's happened. This is something the likes of which we have never seen, which means we need a response that is the same. And I know that the compassion and the love of the people of Kentucky, and we hope all across the United States of America, responds with as much love as the destruction that we have seen here. Certainly working real hard to get cell service back up all across this county, which it was probably the most problematic for. Getting water and other supplies in, making sure that all the needs are met. Over at the Emergency Operations Center here, met with Judge, Emergency Management, and others to make sure we have the full list, and we're going to be in constant communication to make sure that we can reach it. I wish I could say that we'll be repaired and rebuilt in a month. We won't. It's going to take real time, but we have the commitment and we will make it happen. I'm going to turn it over to our state representative from this area, Angie Hatton, and then we'll hear from Senate President Robert Stivers.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome to Whitesburg. This is normally a really beautiful city, and it's absolutely filled with beautiful people, as you can tell. Thank you, Governor, for all that you've done, for being in constant communication with us. And thank you to our road crews, our utility crews, everyone that's working around the clock to make sure this city gets back to normal. Thank you, President Stivers, for coming down to your second home. His in-laws live here, so we see a lot of President Stivers here in Letcher County, and he's done a whole lot to help us. He's called in tons of his resources that he has access to and sent us water, and thank you, sir. We appreciate that so much. This is a town full of the best people that you'll ever meet. There aren't better people anywhere. My family and I spent all day on Thursday when we woke up to what looked like Armageddon in our little town that doesn't normally flood, so that no one has flood insurance here because we don't usually flood. We get a lot of flash flood warnings because we're in the mountains, but we don't tend to flood. A flash flood warning might mean that you have some water in your basement. But we wake up and we see neighbors on their roofs. We have no cell phone signal, no Wi-Fi signal. And within a quarter mile, I can't get anywhere because there's just water completely covering both sides of the road. My family and I, and along with a roving band of citizens who included a mechanic, some coal miners, a bunch of teenagers, some women, a doctor, and a lawyer, and anybody else who would join in, who had a kayak or a jet ski or a fishing boat. Eventually pontoon boats were driving through this neighborhood, and there are pictures of pontoon boats swimming up, like going up to these windows and rescuing people out of upper story windows right here where we're standing. But we didn't have training, we didn't have rescue equipment, and rescuers couldn't get to us. We have a state police commander who lived just down the road, whose mother-in-law was potentially missing, who was calling in every resource he had, and they couldn't get to us because everything was blocked off. So we just rescued ourselves all day long. We were pulling neighbors off of roofs, and as fast as we would pull them off of roofs or out of windows and they'd swim to safety, they would turn directly around and try to rescue their neighbors as hard as they could. I saw people that we pulled off the roof in a jet ski, the family one by one, at the distribution center the next day, collecting donations and handing them back out to people who are homeless, who lost everything they had and came out with the clothes on their back and their children, and that's it. Don't have a toothbrush, don't have a home, don't even have a car to sleep in. We're up at the donation center volunteering today. So for every house that you see destroyed, there is a tragic, heartbreaking story that would bring anybody to tears. To hear of families trying to rescue one another, deciding who goes first in the rescue boat in Little Whitesburg, where I live, and then for every one of those houses where there's a tragic, heartbreaking story, there is a story of a hero who came to rescue their neighbors. And like, I could go on all day and tell you all the stories of people in fishing boats rescuing a neighbor in a wheelchair through rushing water. And this whole place, I had no idea I would lived in a whole community of heroes. But we did know that Eastern Kentucky is full of amazing people, that it's an amazing place to live, and I promise that come hell or high water, it will be again.
Governor, appreciate you coming here. And Angie, I am not the state senator for Letcher County. My wife is here. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are here. And it was bad in Clay County, but it's isolated. It wasn't like it was here in Jenkins or Neon or Blackie or any of the other places. And the governor's right about what will be shown. We're in assessment mode, but what we have seen, the contacts and relationships, reached out to Angie to say what do you all need up there, because ours was isolated. But the phone calls, the text messages from California, Texas, Tennessee, Washington State, and Washington, D.C., reaching out to talk about bedding, toiletries, monies. And it's been just an amazing silver lining to a dark cloud to see how people have responded and stepped up on a circumstance. And I'm going to go back to my connections here. When my father-in-law has lived here for 44 years in the same house and has never seen a drop of water in it, and this time, 44 years later, it floods it, this is something he has never seen, and he's 88 years old. That's how devastating this is, and the impact it's had on Letcher County and about 4 or 5 other counties countywide, in my hometown in Clay County, in an isolated area. But to the governor's credit, Angie's credit, I want to thank them, the cabinet secretaries, the EMS, Secretary Gray. I can say this for the area, the state highway workers have gone above and beyond, and I don't know that many of them had much sleep. They've been out working on 988 inloaders and trucks and everything else, but to an extremely tough situation, there has been an amazing response. And that we have already had discussions, conference call with the governor yesterday. Members of the legislature are talking about what we need to do, what we did out in West Kentucky to respond to that. But now we're in the time of assessment and healing, and then we'll be in the time of rebuilding.
have to say. Just how proud I am of our community. You know, we're not ones to ever ask for much. And I don't know that I've ever prayed so hard before in my life. I've lost my husband, and I prayed a lot for that, but when I saw my community in the shape that they were in and hearing about people having to be rescued in the manners that they were, that's the hardest I've ever prayed in my life. And like I said, we're independent and we help each other out, and as you can see, we have neighbors helping neighbors. And when we go through anything, we never go through anything alone. So when it came time to have to reach out to other counties, other cities, other mayors, the governor, and people just nationwide, we knew that we were in trouble. But each person that I've contacted for help, they have been right there for us, and some I didn't even have to call. They called me first, and I couldn't thank them more. We've had counties reaching out to us. Our city has lost everything. Our equipment, dumpsters. I mean, I was standing on a hill watching Main Street turn into a raging river with everything that we had. I watched dumpsters flow down the river, things that I never dreamed that I would ever see. And it's miraculous to see how people have rallied even in the last couple of days. But we want to thank everybody who has reached out to us and offered help. Harlan County, Prestonsburg, you name it. They're going through situations themselves, and they still offered to help us, and we could not do it without them, because a lot of our officers, city and countywide, they have lost their homes as well. So when we needed help, they were right here for us, and I just want to thank everybody for that. And then the people that work for me, my water department, who would not have anybody going without water. We may have had a few, but day 2 to day 3, we will be back to 100% of people in this city having water. And that's the kind of team that I have, and I could not thank them enough. I know they don't get paid enough, and I wish I could. I wish we could afford to pay them what they really deserve, because that would just be wonderful for them, because I don't know what I would do without them. My street department, who has helped come out and help remove things from homes, use loaned equipment to help move things out of the road, move debris. It takes a village, and I'm on year 1 year and 1 month that I've been in my position, and this has been a true challenge. But the politics goes out the window when you are dealing with a situation like this. I'm a citizen just like everybody else. I'm out here to help. Whatever we can do for one another, because it's a family, it's a community effort. And thank you to everybody, and thank you to Governor Beshear for being here for us today and for the, I'm sure, years to come. And thank you all.
For those outside the area or the state, this is what we call a mountain mayor. Tough as nails, right now covered in mud, but full of love and compassion for her people, for our people. You are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And let me just say, on behalf of myself as governor, and I know our Senate President, Robert Stivers, and Representative Angie Hatton, we're going to rebuild every single part of your city.
Thank you.
Every part. So, all right, we'll open it up to questions if you have any.
Now, you said the number went up today.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk about that at all?
Crystal, do you have the breakdown? Yeah. There you are. So earlier today, we were at 26. Sadly, we've been able to confirm 2 more fatalities. I believe that they are in not, but I'll read you the full list. So these are 28 Kentuckians. And the number keeps growing. 2 in Clay, 15 in Knott County, 4 of them children. And it says minors, they are children. The oldest one is in 2nd grade. I just passed and got out of the location that they're home and that they were swept away in. 2 in Letcher, 3 in Perry, and 6 in Breathitt. And we will have more. We know.
Governor, I have a question as well, but
Yeah.
before I ask it, Mayor, I just want to
Sure.
paraphrase Representative Hutton. This is still a beautiful city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Governor, I know you've addressed throughout the day anyone who does not have flood insurance and resources they
Yeah.
have available. In the meantime, what do these people need to be doing when it comes to cataloging their things, cataloging any of the belongings they have?
Well, the first thing that folks need to do is not give up. Now, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to make people fully whole, but we're going to do our best to be there over the coming months and years. Listen, they need to file their claim with their insurer. And if their insurer is going to deny them, that will ultimately push them forward in the FEMA process. Now, this county and 4 others has already been qualified for individual assistance, and we've been promised that we will have FEMA folks on the ground here in the coming days. They'll be walking around neighborhoods like this with tablets so that they can help do some of the work that oftentimes falls on the people. We will have a set place that people can go to talk one-on-one with them, because navigating the online portal can be difficult, and we don't want answering one question wrong when you don't know the context to keep you from ultimately getting help. I know we'll be having conversations with the General Assembly, especially in how we help our cities and our towns and our utilities. I mean, replacing just the water infrastructure alone, if they were on their own, would raise people's rates that have been through hell. And we can't allow that to happen. So just like in the West, I know we want to be there for those in the East. We had really good legislation that helped us do some, and continue to do some really good things there. So don't lose hope. Keep pushing through. Hug your kids.
A lot of people were putting their belongings out on the sidewalk to be picked up by the trash. Is there something they need to do prior to that?
Well, at first, I understand why they're getting it out. Mold is a big issue. Everybody's trying to save their structure. And I want you to know the folks you're seeing in each one of these homes, most of them live in other homes that are either already completed, and by that I mean getting everything out, or they're willing to wait to help their neighbor. That is really special. These are special people. I like to think as Kentuckians, we're special people. We'll be working on the debris removal process. Counties, emergency management, already working on the contracting in some areas. We've been through this about 7 months ago and have learned a lot of lessons on it, especially because the FEMA reimbursement comes months, if not years, afterwards. And we cannot allow a city or a county to bear the type of financial distress that that would cause. And so we're going to be there for you to make sure that's not the case.
Governor, at least 4 schools in Letcher County was affected by the flooding. What are you hearing from the school officials, and especially as we're getting so close to the date when school was supposed to start?
What I'm seeing are amazing educators that are at every single center to help people. That's who they are. The schools become the beacon of light in the darkness. They become the place that people come to, where we get power and water to first, where we distribute clothes and other necessities, where kids who've been through something they shouldn't have to go through can get a hug from their teacher, the person that they trust. We're going to have to make sure that we repair these facilities, both here in Letcher and in Knott. A lot of schools hit really hard, and we're going to have to work really quickly to both get some back up on their feet and find some alternative locations. There are going to be some schools that we probably can't use this school year, but we are committed to those students to making sure that we get them in a classroom. We do not let them fall behind. And, you know, we ought to provide extra wraparound services for them, right? Mental health services. It's already really hard to be a kid in the era of social media and all the rest, and then to go through this. So I think our most solemn duty is to our children and to our seniors. We also have a nursing home that in a couple of counties we got to get people back into. Now it's safe. We're going to be working on both. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming down. Thank you.
Well, that was probably the most emotional news conference of the 3 we've had today. The governor has spent the entire day in eastern Kentucky. He began his day in Hazard and Perry County. We've carried all three news conferences live throughout the day. Fortunate to do so with cell phone service. We weren't sure we were going to be able to do that, but fortunately we were, because we learned a lot of information at all three stops, and unfortunately a lot of somber information in that news conference. And I have some news actually to break here in a moment, but first, the official confirmed death toll in the flash flooding disaster is 28. It will grow, and I'll tell you why in a moment. The breakdown, the official breakdown of counties: 2 deaths in Clay County, 15 in Knott County. They still have the highest death toll. Among the 15, 4 children, and the governor just saying the oldest of those kids was in 2nd grade. 2 deaths in Letcher County, 3 deaths in Perry County, 6 deaths in Breathitt County. But here's the breaking news. I've been texting with Perry County Sheriff Joe Engel during that news conference, and he confirms to me that 4 more bodies were found today in Perry County. That number is not part of the official 28. So that would put the death toll over 30 in eastern Kentucky. But again, Sheriff Joe Engel confirms 3 bodies were found off 476 in the Erie community, and 1 body was found in the Busy community. We were also told earlier by our Brandon Robinson, who heard that there was 1 more death in Letcher County. So the official statewide death toll is 28, but we know there are at least we believe at least 5 more, 4 in Perry County and 1 in Letcher County, which would bring the death toll to 33. This surpasses the death toll in the March 2nd, 2012 tornado outbreak in eastern Kentucky, something I hoped we would never see. We heard also from State Representative Angie Hatton saying the flooding to her looked like Armageddon. She saw flooding in places that just don't flood. Senate President Robert Stivers, who doesn't represent that area but has family in that area, also talked, in a very emotional Whitesburg Mayor Tiffany Kraft also spoke there. Of course, she just lost her husband, the former mayor, not all that long ago. But again, to report the headlines, 28 confirmed dead. We know that number will grow because I've just confirmed with the sheriff in Perry County that at least 4 more bodies were found today. Again, the highest death toll is still in Knott County with 15. So we're going to get an update on weather here in just a moment. Of course, we're watching rain today. We haven't had too many problems. We're going to talk to Cameron about that in just a moment. We have had a few problems today, but of course nothing like we saw earlier this week. And the governor mentioned that he's hopeful that we will not see too many problems tonight. It was actually dry there in Whitesburg. When they were talking, we have had some pretty good downpours here in Hazard. It seems to be quieting down now, but of course we'll be following the rain throughout the evening, and we'll keep you updated on that. Cameron, are you ready?
Yep, ready to go.
All right, let's go over to meteorologist Cameron Aaron for a quick weather update.
Thanks so much, Steve. And like you mentioned, we are looking out for more showers and storms this evening, excuse me, and into tonight as well. We have this flood watch in effect until 8 a.m. on Monday, and that includes for much of our counties, especially along and south of the Mountain Parkway. We are included in that flood watch until 8 a.m. in the morning. Here's a live look at Pinpoint Doppler at the moment. We do have a couple of flash flood warnings in effect at this hour. One includes most of central Pike County. One includes a far southeastern sliver of Floyd County as well. I'll put on the timing on this one, and this is going to go until 6:30 tonight, so that will be for about the next 50 minutes or so on that flash flood warning for Pike and Floyd County this afternoon. Let me throw on the next one as well. This is for places near Middlesboro, for portions of Bell County into Knox County, also portions of Whitley County. and this will be a flash flood warning until 6 o'clock as well. So about the next 20-ish minutes on that one, a flash flood warning in effect. We have gotten some reports of a water rescue in Whitley County from the National Weather Service in Jackson. I will put up the reports real quick, and you see a lot of flooding reports near the Tennessee and Kentucky border over southern Whitley County. This is near the Saxton community, and I'll throw on a couple of these flood reports right now. Whitley County 911 reports a water rescue took place along Little Wolf Creek Road, that is in southern Whitley County. We also have another report coming in near Saxton of the left-hand lane of Highway 25 West was blocked under the I-75 overpass due to flowing water over the road. We also have another report of 6 inches of water was flowing over Highway 1804 at the I-75 overpass, and that is in southern Whitley County. So if you know anybody that may be driving along I-75 in southern Whitley County, thankfully the rain is moving off towards the south of that location, but still be sure that they use caution and be sure that they know that some flooding is ongoing in southern Whitley County. I also will throw on some more reports and see if we have anything. I did see one come in from Pike County that Pond Creek was over the road across the back alley at Belfry Middle School. So we also have some reports coming in this afternoon from Pike County. I'll throw on a couple of these, and I think this is that report, coming in from Belfry, that the Pond Creek was over the road across the back alley at Belfry Middle School. We also have some reports of water out of the banks of Coon Creek and over the road at John's Brunch, that is in Pike County, and also water was reported over the road in front of Jones Oil in the community of Coal Run. So again, we have some reports this afternoon of some floodwaters over portions of Pike County and also in southern Whitley County. The good news is we are not seeing any reports of flooding in those devastated communities from Thursday, and we pray and we hope that that remains the case. But you have to be sure that you are weather aware. You have to have a way to receive warnings not only this evening but into tonight as well. And a great resource to have is that WYMT weather app. It will send you alerts, it will send you forecasts, you can see the latest radar, you can see all of that stuff on the WYMT weather app, and we pray that people take advantage of that resource, because we are going to see possibly some more high water issues in spots as that flood watch continues until 8 in the morning on Monday. And Steve, coming up during the 6 o'clock news, we'll have a full breakdown of the weather and plus the summer heat that's going to return as we get towards this time next week, and that's coming up in about 30-ish minutes or so, Steve.
Yeah, the governor mentioned that heat. Real quick, Cameron, something we saw earlier in the week during this devastating flooding was flood emergencies issued, something we rarely see, a flash flood emergency. I just wondered if you could explain a little bit the difference between flash flood warning and a flash flood emergency.
Right, so a flash flood warning is something that is a little bit more common. It's something that's not as life-threatening. Now, it's still dangerous. We want to stress that you need to take a flash flood warning just as seriously. But a flash flood emergency, that is the National Weather Service saying that this is a life-threatening, dangerous situation that you have got to seek higher ground immediately, whereas the flash flood warning is saying, hey, this is still dangerous, this could still be happening, but it's not as dangerous or as life-threatening as that flash flood emergency. And I will say, Steve, once that was issued Thursday morning, like I've been saying, I'm from the deep south, and we really have never seen flooding like that here. This is my first time really experiencing flooding of this magnitude. And when I seen the flash flood emergency was issued, I texted Brandon and I was like, this is new territory for me, because I've never experienced weather like that before.
Well, we certainly have had our fair share of flooding, but I can only remember maybe 1 or 2 other times in my 23 years here at WYMT of having a flash flood emergency issued. So in some ways we're in uncharted territory in eastern Kentucky too. Certainly everybody I've talked to in the affected counties, especially Perry, Breathitt, Knott, Letcher, they've just never seen anything like this. We will continue our coverage. We're going to go back to golf now on CBS. Golf will likely go past 6 o'clock. So the CBS Weekend News will air once golf is over. And then we hope to do our full weekend newscast. Keaton Hall will be here with you, and Cameron for that. That will come your way at 6:30, and we've had reporters again today across the region. We were with the governor on every stop he made. We were in other parts of Letcher County today that we haven't even been to yet, and our reporter covering that says it was just indescribable, the damage. He was in the McRoberts and Neon areas of Letcher County. But we'll be back soon. Again, stay with WYMT for the latest. Download that news app. Keep it locked to WYMT.com and our Facebook page. And of course, we'll keep you updated as we go along. Thanks for joining us.